I tell you once more, please get out of my way. I don't want you no more.
We're done here, boy.
I know you think you're so fine, but you can't see it. I've been wanting to unwind.
Hello and welcome to Women Leading in Cannabis. I'm your host, Kyra Reed. Thank you for joining us. Our guest today is Doreen Sullivan, founder of My Bud Vase. Welcome, Doreen.
Thank you, Kyra. I'm so happy to be here with you.
Doreen is the award-winning visionary and CEO behind My Bud Vase. As a brand strategist, ultrapreneur, and master product developer, Sullivan has created one of the most respected luxury brands in the world and has been featured in Forbes, Newsweek, and High Times. Sullivan entered the cannabis space with over 3 decades of experience as the founder and CEO of Post No Bills, an award-winning creative agency whose client list includes recognizable brands such as Disney, DreamWorks, ESPN, and the U.S. Olympics Committee. Sullivan is also a thought leader, keynote speaker, and a consultant who specializes in transforming creativity into commercial success. She is a passionate advocate for authenticity, empowering others, and the remarkable impact of the creative process. Driven by her desire to elevate and normalize the consumption experience, she works with her team to create a dynamic cannabis lifestyle and product line. Her devotion and craft womanship in designing and producing luxury vase bongs have made her a media darling and a trailblazer in the cannabis industry. Sullivan's passion for healing through the spirit of cannabis and the power of femininity speaks to how she runs her business from the heart. I am so excited to speak with you today, Doreen.
Oh my God, thank you. What a beautiful, lovely introduction and bio that is. I'm like really proud of that.
Yeah, you should be. You have got an amazing background and you come from a marketing and design background. And honestly, I think your bio just skims the surface on the incredible clients and projects that you were a part of before you got into cannabis. Can you give us some background on your impressive career and how that ultimately led you to building an ancillary cannabis business in a non-legal state?
Right. That's where everybody should start, with building their cannabis business in a prohibition state. So to go back to, an incredible legacy of a history, it started in New York City when I started Post No Bills in entertainment marketing in the music industry. And that was in 1987. I was a theater major, always a creative, and I started working for a small merchandising company and marketing company. And they had a client, RCA Records, and we were working on a project. And the client, after my boss left, called me back and said, "We want to give you artwork." And then I went back to get this artwork, and he literally said, "Don't like your boss, love your ideas, want you to start your own business. We have a project called Dirty Dancing. We think it's going to be a big hit, and we'd like you to create some products for it." So if that was like the start of my business, Post No Bills, I was shocked and young and naive and scared and excited and motivated and ready to take on the task of entertainment marketing without any experience. So then now Post No Bills in just last month started its 34th year. And in those over 3 decades, I've made probably over, I don't want to sound like a lot of money, but like maybe $75 to $80 million of custom products for companies like Disney and the Olympics. And, a lot of your entertainment properties have a lot of branding, marketing, merchandising, environmental decor, etc. So without without getting too deep and not being able to talk about cannabis, my entire career has been about building things that have never been built to promote entertainment properties. I have a storage unit that one day I'm going to go through, and I'm going to take pictures of all these things and get them up and update my Post No Bills website. I mean, you could even, creep on it and see some of the 5 Super Bowls I worked on, or some of the premieres that we've worked on in entertainment, or the movies like Shrek 1, 2, 3, or 4. But because of this legacy of like one of a kind projects that my agency has done. When I switch to cannabis, I come to the space with decades of resources to develop products.
How did that lead you to cannabis?
Fortunately, cannabis led me to all that. I've been a consumer, a recreational consumer since I was 14. And so cannabis has always been by my side from a creative perspective, whether I was needing a brilliant idea or having to, make something out of nothing, or having to be resourceful and fix a product that, had a manufacturer issue or a change of character in a movie. Cannabis has been by my side, and I've been a consumer my entire career. So in a lot of ways, cannabis kind of, was my friend through my creative journey as a product developer and as a marketer. And when I became a parent and when I moved to the South, that's when I really had to, hide this consumption. The stigma was far worse than anything I experienced in New York or LA. And the judgment and the risk and just the entire scenario surrounding cannabis was completely taboo and illegal and came with an incredible amount of judgment. However, knowing that we all have cannabinoids and a journey with cannabis, it was constant hiding for me. I constantly hid my consumption, and it really played with my mind, making me feel like, I was such a successful person, but I had this like dirty secret. On top of that, I always felt a disconnect I always chose to smoke out of a bong. I like to smoke. I like a bong. I love a bong, which is a good thing. And so between feeling like I had to hide my consumption and between feeling like bongs were just a disconnect, didn't fit me personally, was phallic, was heady, was dirty, was just not me, it always led me to go, there's got to be a better way, as a product developer. And as somebody, most product developers are developing things because something that is there is not developed enough or needs to, create a better mousetrap. And so I always felt bongs were just that one of those things. It didn't fit in my lifestyle, but it was part of my lifestyle. And the normalization, especially, in the past 20 years, was just not as urgent as it is now. So it led me to cannabis because it was always part of my life, and it was always a disconnect in my life, and it was always a hidden secret to this wonderful life I lived. So finally, I moved to the beach. I live in a little town called Folly Beach, and I would describe it like a tiny Venice Beach. And it was there that, I hid the bong from a visitor for the last time. And I hid a bong that I had amongst my vases in my house when somebody came over after I had just consumed. And my bong was right next to a vase that was almost shaped like the bong. And that's when I had the aha moment. And the very next day, I started this company.
Wow.
Yeah, it's crazy, right?
That is a great story. So now you've launched My Bud Vase. It is becoming an iconic cannabis brand for women. Because
I'm so
the
proud.
brand, and you should be. The brand oozes femininity, and frankly, they're absolutely every one of them is a gorgeous piece. Some of them are one of a kind. Some of them are completely unexpected, like your new mermaid. But it's everything is so creative. What is your process for coming up with new pieces? What inspires you?
A lot of times the design of something in my mind inspires me. Just like I love the whole blue and white patterns and knew that we wanted to create something special with that. The mermaid piece, I live on the ocean, and it just kind of gets in you, it's like anything, how we get women, we like to get in little trends. Like we're into bohemian stuff for a while, and then we're into Egyptian stuff. And then right now I'm into deco. So a lot of times I'll see something, and if it sticks in my head, and as a creative for a living, that means that let me just explain something to people in the process of creativity. Creativity is a gathering process, right? So if you look up, you open up your eyes and you look as far as you can see, anything in that vision that stands out to you, that actually stands out, sticks with you, and gets inside of your head that you can't get out, is like a jewel to your creative puzzle. It could be a color for your new brand. It could be a shape of the branches in a tree that actually create the pattern that I want painted on the next vase. Like I think the world gives us creative inspiration, and tapping into our surroundings is a key to being creative. It's not like I come up with something on the top of my head. I see something and that transforms me. And if it sticks with me, I feel it in me. And then I just let it percolate. I just leave it in there and let it go. Like, our mermaid vase. I mean, that started out, I had pink scales and iridescent scales, and it turned out to be like the color of the sea because I allowed the creative process to develop inside of me. So some pieces we repurpose that are vintage. So let me be clear about that, because that's one of the biggest confusions. We have our artisan collection, and our artisan collection are already existing vases that I find in the course of my travels. So when we were traveling prior to COVID, I would be working on projects for ESPN or whatever, and then I would start going to estate sales, and really nice antique stores, or just find collectors and find pieces and hear stories about this little grandma from Holland who brought over this piece, and then so it was a outlet for me creatively. So we have our artisan pieces, and I still purchase all of those and find them and curate them. We bring it into our shop, we repurpose them, and we decorate them. Then we have our signature collections. Sometimes I'll find a manufacturer that has like the best, amazing glass out of Turkey, for example, and they paint 24 karat gold on their glass, on their crystal, on their glass. And I'll work with that manufacturer to design something special with something they have in their facilities. Other pieces like the mermaid bong, I'll start from scratch, and I'll find a manufacturer that can, have different textures, drippy paints, things like that. So it's kind of whatever's in my, whatever floats my boat. It's kind of approach, but that's what I've done in my 30 something years of making products, transforming a space for an event. As you well know, my dear, you work with what you walk into.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So if you walk into a place at Caesar's Palace and you have all these areas, the vases fit on the areas. So does your client's stuff. And then when you look outside the window and you see all that glitter at night, well, that's going to transform what you're doing inside because you're working with your surroundings. So that's kind of a long-winded creative coaching way of saying that, creativity is within and around all of us. And each piece is coming out of either what I see, what's available, what's, trending. Like I'm really good with trends. And like we're working on some new pieces for 2021 that we feel are going to be really trendy. So, I'll try to make sure that I've got that commercial aspect and that trend in mind. Like, where is the market going? What are the popular colors coming out? What are people feeling in 2021, right? We're going to be post-COVID. Yes. What is that like? And what does that mean from something you would want to consume cannabis with?
Yes, something that you can share with others. It really is one of the things I miss the most about COVID. It is the unity, at the events when all the women gather outside and share pieces with each other and share joints and dabs. And it's a time that actually, when you see the women standing in the back of the room, that's the place where they feel most comfortable coming forward and mingling and participating and starting to network and get to know each other. It's something I really miss.
Well, and when you think about that, just, from the perspective of creativity and trending, so we know we haven't been able to share. Mm-hmm. So anything that relates to that in whatever industry you're happening to work in, that's how you're going to get ahead of a trend. And that's how you're going to get ahead of the market. So if you were creating any product right now, even a mug, maybe it's got two handles on it, right? because we can finally both hang on to something together, so mm-hmm. It's things like that inspire the work here as a true product development agency should. Keep it open and keep your finger on the global pulse of what's coming up and what's available.
Speaking of, it looks like we are getting closer to federal decriminalization of cannabis.
Can't
How
wait.
how is that going to change your business when the walls come down nationwide? And how do you plan to scale what you're doing now over the next few years to meet, what I'm assuming is going to be a very dramatic demand increase?
I feel it's going to be a tsunami of opportunity for all of us. So scaling, we're working. You just saw Tony. She's our director of operations. Thank God for her. She is really getting our systems in order so that we can, ship out 1,000, 2,000, 3,000 pieces, a week. We are working globally now, and we're really wanting to, step into Mexico and network with the opportunities there. And we want to make product all over the world and be able to ship product all over the world. So we are kind of like locked and loaded to expand our operations with, the customer service, the HubSpot, the ship station, the SKU vault, the inventory stuff, all the stuff that is so over my head. Thank God Tony knows what's going on, and she's just like air traffic control. My background in making products, I'm used to, mass producing and collating, and fortunately experienced in all that stuff I mentioned earlier. There's 70 something $1 million worth of products here. We can really turn and burn, because I used to do that for massive companies. So we're ready for that. From the legalization of just to be able to open the door here. I mean, if you were to walk up to our office right now, you would have no idea there are 10,000 bongs behind me. You just wouldn't know, because it's all we don't overly discuss what we're doing here. Not that we have to hide it, but prohibition places where they don't understand. They don't understand what cannabis can do for you medicinally. They don't understand what cannabis really means in terms of a recreational lifestyle. Like, you're so fortunate to live it. When I go to your events and I can just share my own product, for crying out loud, with a bunch of amazing women. That is not an everyday for me. When I come home, that doesn't happen. I'm not able to go to events. I'm not able to pass the bong around. It's a prohibition state, so I have to follow the laws of the state. So we really are looking forward to opening our doors and sharing what has been, kind of kept under wraps for 5 years, and helping people understand the benefits of cannabis. But I just can't do that right now, because it's too hard to educate those that don't have any basic understanding. I was going to try, and, I thought it would make sense, and that I could be that pioneer, and that my team and I would be like, hey, let me show you how good this is. But it just doesn't work like that. There are too many people that we get it. They don't get it. And I can't be responsible for that energy. I'd rather focus my energy on the growth markets and scaling up my business. And when it's ready, then I will have open doors and arms to help people understand how beneficial this plant really is.
That's amazing. You've been a CEO most of your career. What lessons have you learned about leadership that have meant the most to you? And what have you learned about being a woman in a leadership position?
I think one word answers both of those, is being resourceful. I think resourcefulness is a strong female characteristic, especially because women are, raising children and running businesses and developing things and keeping the peace and making the Christmas dinners. And, women are just so capable of juggling so many plates because they're incredibly resourceful. And as a CEO and a business owner, I think what has kept me alive, and it has not been easy. I mean, I can't even begin. It's a whole nother podcast, some of the struggles we've gone through in my career. And just to be able to pivot and be resourceful and find ways to sell yourself out and change things. I worked in the music industry. We know what that's like right now. I worked in home video. That's not there anymore. I've worked in so many industries that have completely almost gone out. And that's just because, things change in this world. And if you're not able to be resourceful and pivot at the right time, you're gone. You're just gone. And I don't care whether it's keeping your house and your family fed or running a large business. You have to be incredibly resourceful to succeed on both levels, on all levels.
And has being a woman been an asset or a hindrance to you as you have moved about the corporate world?
both an asset, being a woman moving through the corporate world, especially when I started my career. I mean, I'm pretty much of a firecracker, and as a creative, energetic, creative Italian woman, there's a lot of people that like that energy and welcome you to opportunities. Once you get in them, then there's, the division of, well, you're the creative, so you can't be on budget, you can't be on time. Oh, you've got abundant energy, but it's not focused. Like what brought me to the table also tried to kick me off the table at the same time. It's like, you want my ideas, but you don't want, you want unbound creativity, but then you need me to focus right now. Well, part of unbound creativity is opening your eyes to gather whatever's needed in a project, So I think, even from my Bud Vase and my Bud life and what we're doing now, being a woman is the key, and which is why we're unashamed and we're just going to go for every flower power moment with this company, because we don't have to hide the fact that we're feminine. We can speak to that audience and directly make something for that audience. And we know how women think and what they like. And we're able to live in that lane, and it's wonderful. But, it's a challenge. I mean, women have to, be strong and fight together for their rights and their abilities to just be themselves. So it's kind of a double-edged sword, but I'd rather live this life than a corporate white male, as we all know, especially after this year. It's much more fun in this lane.
So what advice do you have for a woman who is looking to start a business in cannabis, and in ancillary business in cannabis?
Oh, there's just literally everything you see, just pair it with cannabis. Like I'm looking at, okay, let's look at my desk right now. So I have a logoed mug. All right. So cannabis and coffee, cannabis and coffee cups, cannabis and a tea set. I have a candle here, cannabis and candles. I have salt on my desk, cannabis and spices. I mean, there is just anything that has to do with this plant ties into something, because it's like a universal healer. So I would say find, look at all. I always tell people to take a wheel, and like if the center of the wheel is cannabis, look at how many different spokes there are and just write them all down. Like I'm consulting a good friend of mine right now. She's an incredible chef. So the first thing is you stick to your passion. So if you're a chef, if you love animals, if you want skincare, if you're a hairdresser, if you're a nail tech, whatever you love, start with what you love and then find a way to incorporate cannabis in that. Right? So I happen to love home decor. I love flowers, love, love, love. I always used to say, if I could do anything, I'd work in a floral shop. I had no idea it would get to this level. You know what I mean? Like, what the hell? Be careful what you ask for, right? But you know what I'm saying? So my advice is to do what you love. Like, let's say you're an accountant, you love numbers and spreadsheets, then work in the cannabis space, for nonprofit, helping them get statistical numbers about whatever they need for cannabis and seniors, cannabis and diabetes, cannabis and all that. There's a way to connect to this plant in every single spoke on the wheel. So start with what you love and the plant and look for opportunities that connect those two.
That's great advice. What are you excited about in 2021?
What a good question. As you know what? It's such a good question, Kyra, because there's so much that we're afraid to get excited about, because like we just don't know what's happening on a day to day. So it's like we're in the don't get your hopes up place.
Yep.
But if I'm free to get my hopes up,
get them up.
All right, I'm going to get them up. I'm excited about the retail journey that we're on right now. Like we're starting to have so many people carry us in the retail world. Like we're going to be doing pop-ups with higher standards. We're in stores like in Canada and in Mexico and in Hawaii. So I'm super excited about creating opportunities for retailers to sell our products and make it easier for them. Because of my marketing and sales background, everything I used to pitch was, sent on a tray to make it easy for somebody to sell in your product. In today's world, retailers, like, they're kind of on their own. They got to get the product, they get a little bit, and they've got to do all the work themselves. So I kind of want to, we want to, as a team here, create a retail journey with our product that I'm super excited to speak to retail and kind of almost like transform the way they're starting to build their displays and their product categories and their road to the consumer, because the retailers are the ones that consumers are walking in to see. Additionally, I'm excited about supporting the bud tenders and that the bud tender network. And I'm sure some of those people, Sabrina and all them, like the Bud Tender Nation. These are the people that are dealing with the consumers that are going to be flooding to figure out this plant. So I'm hoping to be a conduit and a bridge and a safety for so many people, not only with our products, but with our company's ability to start marketing and helping people, see those roads to get to this plant and to really be able to enjoy it, and normalize it in the home. Like, it's going to change. Pop culture is going to be pot culture. And I want to work on that road and help lead that way. That's what I'm thrilled about.
That's awesome. I'm excited for you. I can't wait to see what happens with My Bud Vase in the coming years.
I know, right? Yeah.
Where can we find your gorgeous vases and get in touch with you?
Okay, so mybudvase.com is our website. Our Instagram is at My Bud Vase or Vase, however you like to say it. Those are like our two main roads to us. I still manage the Instagram as long as I can, because I really want to connect to what people are experiencing and sharing and seeing. We're working on some more platforms, and we're working on actually some creative coaching, consulting that I'm going to start doing in 2021, which I'm excited about. So I can let you know about that to share with your groups down the road as that comes together. But in the meantime, those are the main areas. And obviously now retailers all over the place. So that's exciting. Like, if anybody sees our products out there, please support those retailers. I'm so grateful for them taking a risk and putting our pieces on their shelves.
And what is My Bud Life?
Good question. We just wrote this. Does anybody have the copy from My Bud Life that we wrote yesterday that we finished? That one sheet of paper? We, My Bud Life is, in the short version, it's like a parent company. And if you would look at it that way, and that My Bud Vase would be like the flagship company. But let's see. Here's our copy. So this is kind of our statement and intent. So one is, My Bud Life is a female-inspired cannabis lifestyle brand. But My Bud Life is the parent brand behind My Bud Vase, and it's a fast-growing lifestyle brand creating products, content, and choices for cannabis enthusiasts who value the beauty and creativity of the life-saving plant. We are driven by our love of this community and the unlimited possibilities within it. Join us on our mission to inspire and influence the world through the spirit of cannabis and the power of femininity. I got to practice my elevator. That's my elevator pitch for My Bud Life.
I love it. I love it so much. We're going to have to talk about doing a collaboration with My Bud Life and Women Empowered in Cannabis. We're aligned.
Absolutely. That's a given.
Thank you so much, Doreen, for your time and for sharing your journey with us today. Ladies, thank you for tuning in. If you haven't yet joined the Women Empowered in Cannabis community, go to our website, womenempoweredInCannabis.com, and find your group. Supply chain, CBD and hemp, and the recently launched Women of Color. WEIC is a community that provides resources, connections, events, and content to women working in cannabis in the US, Canada, and around the world where there's an interest in cannabis legalization. We welcome women who are currently working in cannabis or curious about taking a leap into the industry. Join us next week for another conversation with women leading in cannabis.